Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever Motley Experience Webisode. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of some songs that we played in last week's show. First off, I'm Aristides Marousas, and here's some of the songs. First off, Me and You, Dirty Phonics Remix by Nero. Tonight featuring Netsky by Danny Bird, both of those songs on the Drum and Bass Arena Evolution CD. Then All I Ask of You featuring Penny from Skrillex, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. Aformes by Nigma, which is the Greek song. Danza Kuduro by Don Omar and Lucenzo. I Want the World to Stop by Bell and Sebastian. Blacklight, Sunflare by Lotus, and Scream by Chris Cornell. We'll be right back with Economics and Politics with a special guest host right after the break. Okay, everybody, we're back here with Joe Harrington. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Joe Harrington. I am currently a political science major at Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Obviously, by me saying I'm a student means I'm no expert. I'm just here to offer my opinion on what's happening.
Awesome. Okay, and we're just going to go straight into economics and politics. First off, Tent City here in New Jersey. Homeless people have gone and created a community in Lakewood, New Jersey. Residents of Tent City lost their jobs due to the recent economic crisis. Some have been without a job for almost 2 whole years. Residents are, as I said, the victims of the recent job recession, and the township is actually suing the residents to try to get them off of this public land. And as you can tell, if the township is suing them, they are receiving no help from the government. And from the looks of things, if they aren't kicked off, they're going to have to spend the entire winter there. Joe, your opinion on this?
Well, if it's public lands, obviously the township has the right to decide what happens on that public land, so they're perfectly legally okay with suing these people, which I won't understand why they do that anyway, because if the people are homeless, they have no money to give the government, so that makes absolutely no sense. But instead of suing these people, the government should, or township, since it's a township, should take the people, transport them to existing homeless shelters that they have in their town, because it is Lakewood, so it's a city. So obviously suing them is not going to really take care of anything, because the people will just stay on the land. And if it's in the winter, there's always the possibility of people dying from freezing and frostbite, stuff like that. So if that would happen, I'm sure the government would be held responsible by everybody else, which they're not going to want. So they should definitely go about finding a different way to solve this problem.
Right, totally agree with you on that. Now we're moving on to more national issues with Obama's debt reduction plan. A few days ago, the 12 members of the Congress Bipartisan Debt Committee received President Obama's debt reduction plan. The president has said his plan would offer specific proposals that can achieve savings more ambitious than the committee's $1.5 trillion target. He said it would be balanced, involving both spending cuts and tax increases, and he promised it would stabilize debt in the long run. Democrats do not want entitlements to be cut too much, but do want tax increases on high-income earners. Republicans do not want to see much of any tax increases to boost revenue, but instead want to see a good deal of spending cuts. Obama promised in his job speech that last week that his plan would include modest adjustments to health care programs like Medicare and Medicaid, which are some examples of entitlements. Some have taken that to mean that he may recommend savings in the program's administration and payment reimbursement rather than changes to the benefits directly. Also, he said he would not touch Social Security. Fiscal hawks, on the other hand, would applaud an increase in the retirement age for both Medicare and Social Security, because if done gradually and in a way that protects workers in physically demanding jobs, it's a comparatively easy way to contribute to the program's long-term solvency. On Sunday, a White House official said the president would propose what he'll call the Buffett rule, which is a new top tax rate for millionaires to ensure they pay roughly the same average rate of federal taxes on their income as middle-class families do. Legendary investor Warren Buffett has urged Congress to tax the super rich more, since many of them earn a bulk of their income from investments, which are taxed at a lower rate than wages. policymakers are not overly confident that Obama's plan will go over very well with the committee. Joe, your opinion?
Well, Obama's plan. I mean, I agree with it 100%. Obviously, there needs to be tax increases as well as cuts to many programs. They definitely need to figure out what programs those are. I personally don't really think increasing the age for Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security is going to solve any problems, because all that does is buy us a couple more years, especially with the baby boomer population coming up retirement age. We're still going to have a large amount of people coming into the system regardless of increasing the age. The Buffett rule, or Buffett tax, Republicans have already come out and said it's quote-unquote class warfare, when many people that are, or the top income earners in the country, aren't asking for this protection, and many besides Warren Buffett have said that they agree taxes on them should be raised, especially since middle-income Americans pay 20% or more in taxes, as people in the top 1%, or the richest Americans, pay only 12 to 18% because most of their income's from investments, which has a lower tax rate on it. But I mean, this goes back to the whole Republican trickle-down economy theory, but I don't know about anybody else, but I haven't seen any money trickling down to me in a while, so yeah.
All right. And just some news about the Federal Reserve. The Fed's dual mandate to promote both maximum employment and price stability creates a natural conflict as policymakers debate the best action to stabilize the economy.
I'm not out there on the Obama plan. Mm-hmm. I forgot, but basically in his plan, along with cutting funds or cutting spending, the money that would be used is taken from other programs already, so it's not increasing the deficit or anything. And it would help people like construction workers, because he wants to take most of that money and build back or repair our failing infrastructure, basically, which is severely underfunded, which obviously needs to be fixed, because, you know, we don't want roads falling and pipes bursting all the time. And it would help teachers, because obviously, you know, education in this country is not the greatest, and cutting from education isn't going to help that, and increasing class sizes to over 30 students isn't going to help that. So it would help out teachers, and basically it would really help out all small businesses. He would increase the tax cuts for small businesses to entice them to hire. And yeah, so I think it's a good plan that would help out everybody. And I mean, obviously the Republicans aren't going to vote for it because they think that it's going to increase the deficit, when really the money's coming from other programs, so it's not directly increasing the deficit.
Right. And any plan right now is better than what we have now, which is really nothing. So I think they should take his proposals seriously. And back to the Fed. The Fed's dual mandate to promote both maximum employment and price stability creates a natural conflict as the policymakers debate the best action to stabilize the economy. But rarely in the central bank's history has that debate been so pronounced. The latest Consumer Price Index is showing the highest level of inflation in 3 years. As the job market remains flat and the economy continues to slow, the central bank is expected to announce some kind of additional steps to address the slowing U.S. economy and stubbornly high unemployment rate. San Francisco Fed President John Williams essentially dismissed the risk of inflation in a recent speech and argued the Fed's attention needs to be focused instead on jobs and weak growth. The problem for the unemployment hawks is it's not clear whether the steps they have available will have much impact on hiring. This is because short-term rates are at zero and long-term rates are at 60-year lows. We've got mortgage rates at record lows, and if that cheap credit is unable to stimulate growth, there's not much else the Fed can do. Joe?
Well, increasing the inflation rate is, I think, going to do more harm than good, because we're going to just keep making too much money and more money, which isn't going to help us at all. And as far as the low credit rates and all that, isn't that what got us into this situation the first time? I think they need to approach this from a different direction and do as the guy in San Francisco said. Sorry, I didn't catch his name, but the Fed needs to focus more on job creation and job growth and inflation rates and all that kind of stuff, because as they keep increasing the inflation rate, it's just going to do more harm than good. And a lot of people don't see where this money's going and how Ben Bernanke's moving it around. So a lot of people think what he's doing is illegal. And I would say I kind of agree with that, because it's not very transparent right now. So they definitely need to refocus how they're working on this kind of stuff.
Right. I agree on the transparency, but with and it's interesting that you brought up how inflation is too high, as is said in the article here. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the inflation that's being advertised basically is headline inflation. That's at 3.8%. And what the Fed usually likes to focus on is core inflation, which is at 2% on an annual basis right now. And what core inflation basically means, for anyone who doesn't understand that, is basically inflation without the volatile price movements of food and energy. So it's really the more stable inflation rate that they like to go by, because as you know, fuel fluctuates all the time. Food prices can fluctuate all the time due to weather and whatnot.
Well, they don't even include fuel in their fuel or food in their inflation rates, as I think we're getting at, because they fluctuate so much.
Right.
So it's really because they fluctuate so much, there's really no need to include them in there.
Right. But in a weak economy like this, you actually would want a little more inflation to boost wages so people go out and start spending more. Now, that's dangerous because, as the article said, because everything's so low right now, if what the Fed's doing right now isn't helping, odds are that their hands are basically tied right now to what they can do. And but in any case, inflation, in my opinion, should be a longer run concern, with employment being at the forefront of everybody's minds, being the main concern right now, and leave inflation worry about the future.
With increasing the inflation rate, obviously people are going to go out and spend money, but they're not going to go out and spend money on consumer products. They're going to go out and spend money that they have on paying off their mortgages and keep paying bills and stuff. They're not going to spend any extra money that they have from on consumer goods when they have other more important things to take care of.
Right. But when you think about the more wages they have, they're paying off their mortgage and everything like that. And as time progresses, their mortgages are coming down, they're having a little more money, they're going out and spending consumer goods. So it's really a difficult issue right now that they're having. So hopefully they can come up with something, because otherwise there's a very good chance that we might go back into a recession or a double dip. Right now,
I just recently read an interesting article on this situation. It was in Time Magazine. There's Cleveland, Ohio is doing something radical where the government is basically, or the government's buying the houses that are foreclosed, and basically deciding, depending on like what condition the house is in and stuff like that, they're basically tearing down the houses and turning those lots into community gardens and things of that sort, because if they just let the houses sit there and then they become delinquent, it'll lower the property taxes for the other people that are still living there. So the city decided to, this is outside of Cleveland, not directly in Cleveland, but the city decided to tear those houses down to keep that from happening, which I think, obviously on a national scale, they'd have to look into it more than that, but I think that's an option to look at for smaller towns that are having issues like this.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's it right now for the economics and politics, and we'll be right back with some world news.